Sol for Korea Blockchain Week, and today I'm with Ganesh from Covalent.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you, Mia.
Welcome. To start with an introduction to your company for everyone watching.
Absolutely. So Covalent is a modular data infrastructure for AI applications. And so we solve two specific problems. One is known as a long-term data availability problem, which is access to historical transaction data. And the second is structured data that is not corruptible, that is immutable, and that is verifiable. So that's really what Covalent does in a nutshell.
How did you come up with this idea?
So it's quite an accident. I'm from Vancouver originally, and it rains a lot in Vancouver. And a friend of mine said, hey, there's this database hackathon, you should go check it out. And I ended up going and building a very simple kind of system that lets you pull out blockchain transactions in Excel without having to run nodes or without having to know any of the technicalities, and ended up winning that hackathon. And, people were calling it the Google for the blockchain, all kinds of things.
Wow.
And so we decided to start a commercial company to take this initiative to market.
And you started with the co-founder back then?
Yeah, so 2018, a long time ago. This is before NFTs, before DeFi, before GameFi. And so life was a lot simpler back then. But that was just during the ICO boom. And then for 2 years, it was the bear market. Struggle. Oh my God, yeah. So this seems like not so much of a big deal. Back then, ETH had crashed to $80. In hindsight, that was a generational opportunity if you had the conviction.
Yeah.
So now with this bear market, I've decided that we're not going to fold. There's lots of positive catalysts coming on the horizon. So this like pseudo bear market-ish, it's not really a big deal.
What is exciting you at the moment, like in what you're building? People should get excited about.
Absolutely. So one of the, challenges that the Ethereum community has had is that Ethereum is being pushed between two competing narratives. It's trying to compete with Bitcoin with a store of value, right? So they talk about the ultrasound money narrative. They talk about ETH as gold, for example. And then with Solana as an application developer platform, right? So it's being pushed between these two competing narratives, two competing visions of the world. And so Ethereum is in some sort forgotten what made it successful in the first place. And people are starting to sow doubt on whether the roll-up centric roadmap makes sense or not. So I think this is where the opportunity lies in, because what has worked for Ethereum so far is solid. It's why I entered the space. I'm really excited about that future. So all of the technological and economic improvements coming in the broader Ethereum ecosystem, with the data availability, with bank shorting, with the fee burn mechanism, with the roll-ups, with multiple execution environments. This is a really, really exciting time to be a builder in this space. So it might seem like it's really messy, but within that messiness is where, the excitement and the opportunity comes in.
Absolutely. There's so much that is possible today that it wasn't possible even like 2 years ago. What do you think is the next building block that will unlock many more things in the space?
Absolutely. So if you go back to the trifactor of blockchains, you have decentralization, you have scalability, and you have security. And so these different solutions, they pick different facets of what's possible. So I think what Ethereum does really well is it's decentralized. It helps these solo stakers. It helps regular people go in. So there's this competing thing called data center chains like Solana. You need to have professional grade equipment to run Solana. That's not the case with Ethereum. So I think that is the foundational building block. So we can essentially reinvent finance that is transparent, it's verifiable, and that's, I think, the next big thing. Again, going back to the ideals of Ethereum. So finance is one aspect. Property rights or NFTs are supposed to be property rights. Yeah. I think that we're going to see a resurgence with NFTs, but not as face profile pictures, probably other kinds of things. I would say with AI, a lot of use cases are coming in. AI can be biased. I'm not saying people's opinions are not correct. Like people are, opinions are important. But when you make any kind of like prediction, you need to know where that data came from. Whether there was like a red team that force fed some data. We've seen these examples with Google Gemini. You ask it who was the first U.S. president of the United States, and it showed up with a black person as the president, which is factually incorrect. So that's because the training data was manipulated. So just making sure all of that is in check.
So it would be verified.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it would essentially enable for people to, in a way, be more accurately informed.
It's the transparency element, right? What the data itself may be correct or incorrect. Like that's outside the scope of the blockchain. But the data. So you think about this, right? If you think champagne was a sparkling wine, it's only from the region of Champagne that can be called champagne. Otherwise, it's called sparkling wine. So people and the community will want to see the provenance of the data that they get from the AI systems. And blockchains are a perfect example. Like it's meant to solve that problem.
Mm-hmm. As you started working on this idea, as it evolved throughout the time, was there a moment where you felt that you had to switch gears and turn into complete different direction?
Lots of times, this space is very vibrant, right? So if you look at the Ethereum roadmap itself, the sharding roadmap was the original thing that Vitalik spoke about. In 2019 and 2020, it was all about sharding. And that pivoted to the roll-up roadmap. So Covalent today supports over 200 chains. So just not Ethereum, but all the rollups, all the L2s, all the L3s, the Optimism super chains, the Arbitrum, Orbit chains, ZK Syncs, Hyperchains, Polygon, CDK. These are all L2s. So this is an architecture that nobody could have predicted, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So definitely, Covalent has had to pivot. Also, the use cases are very interesting, right? When we started, it was just raw blockchain data. But there was no DeFi, there was no NFT, there was no GameFi. There's none of these like really cool use cases. There's no stable coins even, right?
Yeah.
So all of that. So Covalent has had to evolve. But a core fundamental thing, like give me on-chain data in a trustworthy, verifiable way, that has never changed. That has been our premise from day one.
I guess like the main question on people's mind watching this, like how do you differentiate from the other solutions?
I go back to Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. Here's this really incredible quote: "Focus on things that do not change, not on things that change." So in the case of Amazon for e-commerce, it's always better, faster, cheaper. People will never come to Amazon and say, "I want my deliveries slow. I want my deliveries to be expensive." So when it comes to on-chain data, better, faster, cheaper. So we're constantly iterating, evolving, innovating on better, faster, cheapers to get on-chain data. So fundamentally, that is our core mantra. Now, along that, you look at the decentralization aspect, then the number of chains. So Covalent is by far the biggest chain support in the entire, there's like 200 plus chains. The number of applications, there's 3,000 plus applications on the Covalent API. There's a lot of things that go into, right? If you're just looking for a car, it's like a bunch of wheels and a seat and a seat belt. But there's a difference between a Toyota and a luxury car, for example. So,
of course, is there anything in the industry abroad that is exciting you at the moment?
I mean, I think the financialization of crypto in itself is pretty exciting, in my opinion. So, when we started out in this industry, the ETFs was not even not even in our fathomable like this is possible. So having access to these assets as financial assets, I understand blockchains as technology, but as a financial aspect is quite exciting. I would say likewise, stable coins. I think stable coins are super exciting. Now, if you need to pay a vendor and the vendor sends us an invoice with the wire transfer instructions, I cringe because it's so painful. It's so opaque. You send out the wire. It takes like 4 or 5 business days. You don't know if they received it or not. Sometimes it gets lost and nobody knows where it is. So it's always like anxiety inducing. But with stable coins, I send a test transaction. I can cycle my wallet and then it's just settled like instantaneously. So, stuff like that is like real. It's meaningful. It's tangible. And at the end of the day, I'm a engineer who's focused on applications. So real use cases is what excites me, not technology for the sake of technology.
How are you finding here, like the market in Korea and maybe perhaps in Asia abroad?
So I would say Korea is a very unique market from a crypto market. Korea is a small country. It only has like 50 million people, but it has the highest crypto penetration. And so over half the country have crypto exchange accounts. The second thing is that unlike the US or Europe, where they're institutional providers, institutional players, the Korean market is all retail. So the regular people out there, they're quite trained, quite sophisticated, right? They're aware of all these things. And they don't use decentralized protocols as much. So all of the volumes are on centralized exchanges. So you look at like Upbit and Coin One and so on. So I think this is a very unique kind of like market from a retail like crypto adoption perspective, which is fascinating. Over the last couple of years, there have been some breakout success stories from Korea. So it is definitely a market to watch.
Sounds super exciting, and it reflects on how the conference is performing today.
Absolutely, it's fun.
Anything exciting, particularly that you're working on at the company, you want to announce or mention?
Absolutely. So we have been working on this cool piece of technology called the Ethereum Wayback Machine. So the problem with blockchains is that transaction data is being deleted. So after 2 weeks, because blockchains are billboards, they're not databases. So you post the data, the transaction data, the data gets verified, it gets challenged, and after 2 weeks it's deleted. There's no point in keeping that data. So what happens is that if the rollups, so the DA layer, if Ethereum itself, they start deleting data, then what happens to your crypto pumps? What happens to all that data? No one has access to the data. So blockchains are not just to write data, it's also to read data back. So the Ethereum Wayback Machine, it's named after the Internet Wayback Machine, gives you unfettered access to historical transaction data. So this is a key piece of technology that we've been working on for about a year. We released a white paper last summer, and the reception has been phenomenal. So we are now going to launch the testnet for the Ethereum Wayback Machine, and we're going to launch it with a live client, so you can run it on your laptop or your phone. And the idea is to have Ethereum just keep it secure, as opposed to Ethereum outsourcing to another centralized party and reducing the security and the decentralization properties of Ethereum. So EWM, stay tuned for it. Testnet in 2 weeks, fingers crossed.
In 2 weeks. That's really exciting. For everyone watching, where can they find you?
So I'm very active on Twitter, or try to be active on Twitter, GANE5H. So my first name, Ganesh, but to sound cool, take the S and put a 5 instead.
Okay.
I'm just Ganesh on Telegram, and you can look at our website, covalenthq.com.
Ganesh, thank you.
Mia, fantastic opportunity here. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a house.
No, we do not understand.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.